I was staring at myself in the fitting room mirror when I heard my husband's voice. Right outside the door, talking on his phone. She didn't notice, the loan went through, he said. That victorious tone in his voice. My skin went cold. In that moment, I knew, my entire life had been a lie. The dress zipper was stuck halfway. My fingers started trembling. Garrett kept talking. Mom, I told you I'd handle it. The stupid woman doesn't suspect a thing. Got her to sign everything, even put the house up as collateral. That's yours now too. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 10 years? I'd been married to this man for 10 years. We had 2 kids together. I'd given everything, every sleepless night, every sacrifice, to this family. And now he was on the phone calling me stupid woman to his mother. I tried to stand but my knees wouldn't hold me. I leaned against the fitting room wall. Even breathing felt difficult. Garrett was still talking, meeting at the notary's office tomorrow morning. You come too, we'll finalize the paperwork and transfer the house to your name. When I file for divorce, she won't get a single thing anyway. Divorce? Everything in my head was spinning. The man who'd gotten into bed with me last night saying I love you so much was now planning how to divorce me. But the worst part was hearing him say he'd taken out a loan in my name to buy his mother a house. 3 months ago, he'd come to me saying Mom's really sick, we need money for surgery. I hadn't hesitated. Went straight to the bank, took out a $200,000 loan. He'd had me sign all the documents. Said it was procedure. And I'd signed without questioning. Because I trusted him. Because I was stupid. Garrett's voice was fading. He was walking toward the stairs. Okay, Mom, she's still bargaining with the sales clerk out here. I'll leave soon, we'll talk details tonight, he said and hung up. I just stayed there in the fitting room. I don't know how many minutes passed. Then I walked to the mirror and looked at myself. My hair was a mess, dark circles under my eyes from exhaustion. When had I stopped taking care of myself? When had I become just Garrett's wife and the kids' mom? When I'd decided to close my interior design firm and become a stay-at-home mom, Garrett had been so happy. You don't need to make money anyway, I'll take care of everything, he'd said. Stupid. How stupid I'd been. I'd made myself completely dependent on him. I zipped up the dress and got dressed. When I stepped out of the fitting room, my legs were still shaking but my mind was crystal clear. Garrett was waiting for me at the store entrance, looking at his phone. When I approached, he looked up and smiled. Did you find a dress you liked, babe? That smile. It looked so natural. So full of love, supposedly. But I knew now. I knew what was behind that smile. I didn't, I said calmly. None of them worked. That's okay, babe. We'll check other stores, he said and took my hand. My hand just lay there in his. Cold. Numb. Just like my heart. I didn't speak the whole drive home. Garrett didn't even notice. He was in his own world. Probably thinking about tomorrow's notary appointment. Planning how to throw me out on the street. When we got home, I tried to act normal. Made dinner for the kids, helped with homework, put them to bed. Garrett was watching TV in the living room. I went to the bedroom and opened my laptop. The first thing I did was check the bank accounts. Garrett had said he had access to everything, that we should be transparent as a family. But now I realized, I didn't have a single account just in my name. Everything was joint. And when I saw the transfers made from the joint account over the last 3 months, my breath caught. $200,000. But it hadn't gone to his mother's account. It had gone to a completely different account. Account holder's name, Loretta Masterson. My mother-in-law. I dug deeper. Looked at property records. 3 weeks ago, a condo in downtown Portland had been purchased in Loretta Masterson's name. Price, $200,000. With my money. My loan. But the records showed the buyer as Garrett Masterson. So here was the game, he'd had me take out the loan, bought his mother a condo. But the property records made it look like it was his. And tomorrow at the notary's office, he was going to transfer our house to his mother too. I ran to the bathroom and started throwing up. My stomach was churning, my head spinning. 10 years? When had this all started during our 10-year marriage? How long had this game been planned? When I rinsed my mouth and came back, Garrett had stretched out on the bed. You okay, babe? You look a little pale, he said. I'm fine, I said. Just tired. I lay down next to him. He wrapped his arm around my waist, like always. I love you, he whispered in my ear. I said nothing. Just stared into the darkness. And that night, for the first time in my life, I couldn't sleep next to my husband. Because the man lying next to me was a stranger. Someone I'd never known at all. I got up early in the morning. Garrett was still asleep. I went downstairs to the kitchen and made coffee. Then I picked up my phone and called the one person I trusted, my sister Bryn. Sloan? It's 6 a.m., what happened? She said in a sleepy voice. Bryn, I said and my voice shook. I need you. Can you come now? When she heard my tone, she woke up immediately. What happened? Is something wrong with the kids? No. But, there's something I found out about Garrett. And I need your help. I'll be there in 30 minutes, she said and hung up. When Bryn arrived, the kids were still sleeping. Garrett too. We sat on the deck and I told her everything. What I'd heard in the fitting room, the bank records, the property records, everything. As Bryn listened, her face got redder. That son of a bitch, she finally said. He and his mother scammed you like this? Yes, I said. And tomorrow at the notary's office they're supposed to transfer our house to his mother too. We're not giving him anything, Bryn said with determination. I know a lawyer. Specializes in divorce cases. Let's go see her right now. But Bryn. I said and hesitated. All the documents have my signature. I took out the loan. I put up the house as collateral. Legally. Listen to me, Bryn said and squeezed my hand tight. You signed those documents under false pretenses. Garrett lied to you. There was no surgery for his mom. You were defrauded. And we're going to prove it. But how would we prove it? Garrett was so smart. He'd planned everything. Thought of every detail. That day Bryn and I went to the lawyer. Attorney Kendra, a woman in her 40s, experienced. She listened to my story, looked at the documents, thought. I have good news and bad news, she finally said. Good news, American law protects spouses from being defrauded by each other. Bad news, proving it is hard. You have documents showing Garrett bought his mother a condo, but that doesn't prove he defrauded you. So what can we do? I asked. We'll file an objection petition, Kendra said. We'll stop tomorrow's notary transaction. Then we'll file a fraud lawsuit. But for that, we need more evidence. What kind of evidence? Documents proving your mother-in-law wasn't sick. Records of what Garrett said to others about you. Messages, emails proving the divorce plan, whatever we can find. When I got home, Garrett had come back from work, sitting in the living room. "Where were you?" he asked. "At Bryn's," I said. "We went for coffee." "Okay," he said and didn't ask anything else. Why would he? I was the stupid woman anyway. I wouldn't suspect anything. That night in bed, Garrett moved close to me again. Put his hand on my waist. But I took his hand and moved it away. "I'm tired," I just said. He seemed a bit surprised but didn't insist. Turned over and went to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I was thinking about his phone. There had to be evidence on it. Messages, calls, records. But how would I access it? It had a password. And I didn't know it. Next morning I got up early. When Garrett went to take a shower, I tried to grab his phone. But it was waiting at the lock screen. Password required. I wanted to try but I was scared. What if I got it wrong? What if the phone locked? What if Garrett got suspicious? I put the phone back. I had to find another way. Bryn came again that day. "Did you check his computer?" she asked. "No, that's password protected too," I said. "What about papers? Files? Is there anything in Garrett's office?" Garrett had a home office. I normally didn't go in there. He'd always say it was his private space. But it didn't matter anymore. When my life was in danger, I didn't recognize private spaces. That afternoon, after Garrett left for work, I went into his office. The desk was organized. Files were on the shelves. Everything was in its place. I started opening drawers. The first drawer had stationery. The second had bills. In the third I found a folder. It said real estate on it. When I opened the folder, my hands started trembling. Inside was the sales contract for the condo bought for his mother. And underneath were notes. In Garrett's handwriting. 1. Loan taken out in Sloane's name, completed 2. Condo purchased in Mom's name, completed 3. Our house transferred to Mom's name, tomorrow 4. File for divorce, 1 month later 5. Sloane won't get anything in asset division because nothing is in her name. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I wasn't just guessing anymore. I knew now. I could see the entire plan. And at the end of the plan, I was on the street. With nothing. I photographed the folder. Every page. Then I put it back and left the office. I called Bryn. "I found it," I said. "I found all the evidence." That night we went to Attorney Kendra. Showed her the photos. Kendra examined them and finally smiled. "This is enough," she said. "Now we can counterattack." "What are we going to do?" I asked. "Tomorrow's the notary appointment, right?" Kendra said. "You're going too. But you won't sign. You'll object. And I'll be there too. But Garrett." "Whatever Garrett does doesn't matter anymore," Kendra said. "You have evidence. We can file for money laundering, fraud, and violation of marital law. Trust me, he and his mother are going to be in very big trouble." When I got home, Garrett was watching TV. He smiled when he saw me. "Where were you, babe?" "I was out," I said. "Wanted some fresh air." "Good for you," he said. "By the way, tomorrow afternoon we need to go to the notary's office. We have some signatures to take care of. You and me." "What for?" I asked. I was curious if he'd keep playing the game. For the house, he said. Some procedural stuff. The bank requires it. Okay, I said. We'll go. That night when I lay in bed, Garrett moved close to me again. Sloane, he said. You've been kind of distant lately. Is something wrong? I wanted to say yes, my husband is defrauding me. But I didn't. Just shook my head. Just tired. I understand, he said. But tomorrow everything will be better. I promise. Yes, it would be better. But not the way he thought. The next morning, I woke up before the alarm. Garrett was still sleeping, his arm draped over the empty space where I'd been lying. I looked at him in the dim morning light. His face was peaceful, relaxed. How could someone planning to destroy their wife's life sleep so soundly? I got up quietly and went downstairs. Made coffee. Strong, black coffee. I was going to need it today. My hands were steady as I poured the cup, steadier than they'd been in days. It was strange, once you knew the truth, once you had a plan, the fear transformed into something else. Determination. Bryn had texted me at 5 a.m., Kendra and I will be at the notary's office at 2 p.m. Park around the corner so Garrett doesn't see my car. You've got this, sis. He has no idea what's coming. I smiled at my phone. No, he didn't. Garrett came down around 7:30, already dressed for work. Morning, babe, he said, kissing my cheek. I'll be back around 1:30, then we'll head to the appointment together, okay? Sounds good, I said, keeping my voice light and easy. He grabbed his coffee and briefcase. Oh, and Mom might meet us there. She wanted to say hi. Of course she did, I said sweetly. That'll be nice. After he left, I went upstairs and opened my closet. What does someone wear to confront their lying husband and manipulative mother-in-law? I chose a navy blue dress, professional, put together. I wanted to look like someone who had her life under control, not someone who'd been broken by betrayal. The kids were at my neighbor's house for a playdate. I'd arranged it yesterday, told her I had an important appointment. She'd been happy to help. Take your time, she'd said. If only she knew. At 1:15, I got a text from Kendra, we're here. Parked in the back. Got all the documents ready. This man is going down. I almost laughed. Kendra had a way of making legal proceedings sound like a military operation. But I guess that's what this was, a battle. And I was finally fighting back. Garrett came home at 1:35. Ready to go, he asked. Ready, I said, grabbing my purse. Inside was my phone with all the photographed evidence, plus the copies Kendra had made. I was armed and he had no idea. The drive to the notary's office took 15 minutes. Garrett was humming along to the radio, completely relaxed. This shouldn't take long, he said. Just a few signatures, in and out. What exactly are we signing? I asked, even though I knew. Oh, just some refinancing paperwork, he said smoothly. Interest rates dropped, so I figured we should take advantage. It'll save us like $300 a month. Lie. Such an easy, practiced lie. That sounds great, I said. You always take such good care of our finances. He reached over and squeezed my hand. That's what I'm here for, babe. My stomach turned, but I smiled. We pulled into the parking lot at 1:55. And there, standing by the entrance, was Loretta. My mother-in-law. She was wearing a cream-colored pantsuit and her signature pearl necklace. She looked like she was attending a celebration. "There's my beautiful daughter-in-law," she called out when she saw us, arms open wide. I let her hug me. Let her kiss my cheek. "Hi Loretta," I said. "What a nice surprise." "Oh, I was in the neighborhood," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "Thought I'd stop by and say hello. You know me, can't resist seeing my favorite girl." Favorite girl. Right. Her favorite victim was more like it. We walked into the building together. The notary's office was on the second floor. As we climbed the stairs, I felt my heart start to race. This was it. The moment everything would change. The reception area was small, just a few chairs and a desk where a young woman sat typing. "Appointment for Masterson?" Garrett said. "Yes, Mr. Masterson. You can go right in. Mr. Chen is expecting you." We walked into the office. Mr. Chen, an older Asian man in glasses, stood up from behind his desk. "Mr. Masterson, Mrs. Masterson, welcome. Please, have a seat." But before we could sit down, the door opened again. And Kendra walked in, followed by Bryn. Garrett's head whipped around. What's going on?" "Hi Garrett," Kendra said pleasantly. She was wearing a sharp black suit, carrying a leather briefcase. "I'm Kendra Morrison, attorney at law. I'm here representing Mrs. Sloan Masterson." The color drained from Garrett's face. "Sloan, what is this?" Loretta's eyes were darting between all of us, confusion and panic mixing on her face. "Garrett, who is this woman?" "I'm glad everyone's here," Kendra said, opening her briefcase. "Because what we're about to discuss involves all of you." Mr. Chen looked bewildered. "I'm sorry, but I was told this was a simple property transfer." "It's not," Kendra interrupted. "It's fraud. And my client will not be signing anything today." Garrett stood up abruptly. "Sloan, I don't know what someone told you, but—" "Sit down, Garrett," I said. My voice came out stronger than I expected. "And let me tell you what I know." He stared at me like he'd never seen me before. Good. Because he was about to meet the real me. Not the stupid woman he thought he'd married. I stood up, facing him and Loretta. 3 months ago, you told me your mother needed surgery. Emergency surgery. You said we needed $200,000, and I didn't question it. I went to the bank and took out a loan in my name. Signed every document you put in front of me because I trusted you. "Sloan, this is crazy," Garrett started. "Let her finish," Kendra said sharply. "But there was no surgery," I continued. "Was there, Loretta? You weren't sick. You didn't need an operation." Loretta's mouth opened and closed like a fish. I don't know what you're talking about." "The $200,000 went straight to purchasing a condo in downtown Portland," I said. "In your name, Loretta. My money. My credit. Your condo." Bryn pulled out her phone and held up the screen showing the property records. 2847, Morrison Street, purchased 3 weeks ago for exactly $200,000. Mr. Chen was staring at all of us now, completely lost. "I think perhaps this meeting should be postponed." "No," Kendra said firmly. "Mr. Chen, I need you to witness this. These people attempted to bring Mrs. Masterson here today under false pretenses to sign over her family home to Loretta Masterson. This is the second phase of a coordinated fraud scheme." Garrett's jaw clenched. I could see the muscles working in his face. He was furious, but he was also cornered. "You can't prove any of this," he said. "Actually," I said, "I can." I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos. His handwritten notes. The plan, laid out in his own writing. Loan taken out in Sloane's name. Condo purchased in Mom's name. Our house transferred to Mom's name. File for divorce. Sloane won't get anything. The silence in the room was deafening. Loretta made a small sound, almost like a whimper. Garrett just stared at the phone screen, his face going from red to white. "You went through my private files," he finally said. "That's illegal." "No, it's not," Kendra said. She accessed files in her own home. "But you know what is illegal? Fraud. Identity theft. Forging intent on loan documents. And the big one, conspiracy to commit theft of marital assets." She pulled out a stack of papers from her briefcase and slapped them on Mr. Chen's desk. "I'm filing a formal complaint with the district attorney's office. I'm also filing an emergency injunction to freeze all accounts in the names of Garrett Masterson and Loretta Masterson pending investigation. And I'm filing for divorce on behalf of my client, with a request for full restitution of the fraudulently obtained funds plus damages." Garrett stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "You bitch," he said, pointing at me. "I gave you everything. I took care of you for 10 years. "You mean you controlled me for 10 years, I said, my voice shaking but steady. "You convinced me to give up my career. You made sure I didn't have my own money. You isolated me from my friends. And when you were done using me, you planned to throw me away with nothing." "That's not, I never," he was sputtering now, looking between me and his mother. "Mom, tell her. Tell her I was just trying to help you." "Garrett, shut up," Loretta snapped. And there it was, the real her. Not the sweet, pearl-wearing grandmother. The woman who'd raised a con artist. "Both of you need to understand something," Kendra said. "This isn't just a civil matter anymore. The DA's office takes fraud very seriously, especially when it involves this amount of money. You're looking at criminal charges. Possibly jail time." "You can't do this," Loretta said, her voice rising. "That money was a gift. Sloane gave it to us." "Then you won't mind providing the documentation proving it was a gift," Kendra said smoothly. "Oh wait, there isn't any. Because it wasn't a gift. It was theft disguised as medical necessity." Mr. Chen cleared his throat. I think this meeting is concluded. I cannot proceed with any notarization today. In fact, I may need to file my own report about this attempted fraud." "Do what you need to do," Kendra said. "Mr. Chen, thank you for your time." Garrett was still standing there, his fists clenched at his sides. I could see him trying to figure out his next move, trying to find an angle, a way to talk himself out of this. "Sloane," he said, his voice suddenly soft. "Baby, please. Can we just talk about this? Alone? There's been a misunderstanding." "No," I said simply. "There's been a crime. And I'm done being your victim." "You're making a huge mistake," he said, and now there was anger creeping back into his tone. "You'll regret this. You have nothing without me. Where are you going to live? How are you going to support the kids?" "That's not your concern anymore," Bryn said, stepping forward. "Sloane and the kids are staying with me. And as for support, the judge is going to make very sure you provide it, from prison or otherwise." "We're leaving," Kendra said, gesturing toward the door. "Mrs. Masterson, you're coming with us." I started to walk toward the door, but Garrett grabbed my arm. "Sloan." "Let go of her," Bryn said immediately, her phone up. "I'm recording this." "You want to add assault to your charges?" He dropped my arm like it burned him. As we walked out of that office, I felt 10 pounds lighter. The weight of the lies, the deception, the fear, it was starting to lift. Behind us, I could hear Loretta's voice rising, sharp and accusing, and Garrett's responding in heated tones. They were already turning on each other. In the hallway, I started shaking. The adrenaline was wearing off and reality was setting in. I can't believe I did that," I said. "You were incredible," Bryn said, pulling me into a hug. "Seriously, sis, I'm so proud of you." Kendra was typing rapidly on her phone. "I'm sending the complaint to the DA right now. And I'm CCNG the bank's fraud department. By tonight, Garrett and Loretta won't be able to access any of those accounts. The condo's going to be seized as proceeds of fraud." "What happens now?" I asked. "Now?" Kendra looked up at me. "Now you go home with your sister. Pack up anything you and the kids need. Tomorrow, we file the restraining order. Then we start the process of getting your life back." We walked out to the parking lot. The October air felt crisp and clean. I took a deep breath, the first real breath I'd taken in days. My phone buzzed. A text from Garrett, "You're going to regret this." "I swear to God, Sloan, you'll regret this." I showed it to Kendra. She smiled grimly. "Forward that to me. That's evidence of harassment. Keep them coming, Garrett. You're just digging your grave deeper." As we drove away, I looked back at the building one last time. Garrett and Loretta were standing in the parking lot, arguing. Loretta was gesturing wildly, Garrett had his hands on his head. "You okay?" Bryn asked from the driver's seat. "Yeah," I said. And I realized it was true. "Yeah, I am." My phone buzzed again. Another text from Garrett, "How am I supposed to tell the kids their mother destroyed our family?" I didn't even hesitate. I typed back, "Tell them their mother finally stood up for herself. And tell them the truth, that you're the one who destroyed this family the day you decided to steal from it." Then I blocked his number. "Damn," Bryn said, glancing at my phone. "That's cold." "I love it." We drove to my house, my former house, I guess, and I quickly packed bags for me and the kids. Clothes, toiletries, favorite toys, important documents. Bryn helped me load everything into her SUV. "You know he's going to try to come after you," she said as we worked. "He's not going to just accept this." "Let him try," I said. "I have Kendra. I have you. And I have the truth." As we pulled out of the driveway, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Mrs. Masterson? This is Detective Walsh from the Portland Police Department. Your attorney, Ms. Morrison, contacted us about a fraud case. I'd like to schedule a time for you to come in and give a formal statement." "Of course," I said. "When?" "How's tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.? "Perfect." After I hung up, Bryn reached over and squeezed my hand. "This is really happening." "Yeah," I said. "It really is." We picked up the kids from the neighbor's house. They were happy, completely oblivious to the war that had just been waged. "Mommy! Aunt Bryn," they shouted, running to us. "Hey munchkins," I said, hugging them tight. "Guess what? We're having a sleepover at Aunt Bryn's house tonight." "Yay," they cheered. That night, after the kids were asleep in Bryn's guest room, she and I sat in her kitchen with wine. Good wine. The expensive kind we saved for celebrations. To freedom, Bryn said, raising her glass. To freedom, I echoed. My phone was still blowing up with texts from Garrett's number. He'd started using different phones when I blocked him. Each message was more desperate than the last. Threats, then please, then threats again. Kendra had told me not to respond, to just screenshot everything and send it to her. He's panicking, she'd said. That's good. Panicked people make mistakes. Around 10 p.m., there was a knock at Bryn's door. We both froze. It's probably just, Bryn started. Then we heard him. Sloan. Sloan, I know you're in there. We need to talk. Garrett. He'd figured out where I was. Bryn immediately grabbed her phone and dialed 911. I stood frozen in the kitchen, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Sloan. Garrett's voice was louder now, angrier. Open this goddamn door. You can't hide from me. Yes, I need police at 1847, Willow Creek Drive, Bryn was saying into the phone, her voice remarkably calm. My brother-in-law is at my door threatening us. We have children in the house. Bang. 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 He was pounding on the door now. Ma'am, officers are on their way, the dispatcher said. Stay on the line with me. Is he trying to break in? Not yet, Bryn said. But he's getting more aggressive. I walked to the front window and peeked through the curtains. Garrett was on the porch, his face red, his hair disheveled. He looked like a stranger. Or maybe this was who he'd always been, and I was just seeing clearly for the first time. I can see you, Sloan, he shouted. Don't you dare hide from me. After everything I've done for you. Officers are 3 minutes out, the dispatcher said. Garrett kicked the door. Once. Twice. You think you can destroy my life? Huh? You think you're so smart now? You're nothing without me. I could hear the kids stirring upstairs. My son's voice, small and scared, Mommy? Stay upstairs, baby. I called out. Everything's okay. But it wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. My husband, my soon-to-be ex-husband, was trying to break down my sister's door in a rage. Then I heard the sirens. Garrett heard them too. Through the window, I watched his face change. The anger flickered, replaced briefly by fear, then by something calculating. He stepped back from the door, ran his hands through his hair, straightened his shirt. By the time the police cars pulled up with their lights flashing, he looked almost composed. 2 officers got out. Sir, step away from the door, one of them commanded. Officers, thank God you're here, Garrett said, and his voice was different now, reasonable, concerned. My wife is inside with our children. She's having some kind of breakdown, and I'm worried about the kids' safety. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was trying to flip the script. Bryn opened the door. Officers, I'm the homeowner. This man was attempting to break down my door. I have the 911 call recorded. Ma'am, are you Sloan Masterson? One officer asked me. Yes, I said, stepping forward. Sir, the other officer said to Garrett, we need you to step back to your vehicle. But my kids. Now, sir. Garrett's jaw clenched, but he complied. The officers separated us, one staying with Garrett while the other came inside to talk to us. Officer Martinez, that's what her name tag said, sat down at Bryn's kitchen table while I explained the situation. The fraud, the confrontation at the notary's office, everything. Do you have documentation of all this? She asked. My attorney does, I said. Kendra Morrison. She filed a complaint with the DA's office today. Officer Martinez nodded, making notes. And tonight? Has he threatened you? He was kicking my door, Bryn said. Screaming. My niece and nephew are upstairs, terrified. Okay, Martinez said. I'm going to talk to my partner and we'll handle this. Through the window, I could see Garrett talking to the other officer, his hands gesturing emphatically. Playing the victim. The concerned father. After about 15 minutes, both officers came back inside together. Mrs. Masterson, Officer Martinez said, we've issued a warning to your husband. He's agreed to leave the premises and not return. However, given the circumstances you've described, I strongly recommend you file for a protective order tomorrow morning. I will, I said. My attorney has it ready. Good. We're also making a report of tonight's incident. If he returns or contacts you in any threatening manner, call 911 immediately. After the officers left, I watched through the window as Garrett sat in his car for a long moment. He was gripping the steering wheel, and even from here I could see his knuckles were white. Then he pulled out his phone. My phone buzzed. I looked down. A text from an unknown number, you'll pay for this. Both of you. I screenshot it and sent it to Kendra immediately. Her response came back within seconds, perfect. Forward all of these to me. He's building our case for us. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in Bryn's guest room, listening to my kids breathe in their sleep, and thought about how quickly everything had fallen apart. Or maybe it had been falling apart for years, and I just hadn't noticed. My phone lit up around 2 a.m. Another unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Sloan. It was Loretta. Her voice was cold, hard. You've made a very big mistake. Have I? I said quietly, not wanting to wake the kids. My son gave you everything. A home, a life, children. And this is how you repay him? Your son stole from me, I said. Your son was going to leave me with nothing. That money was for family, Loretta hissed. I'm family. I deserved that condo. You deserved it? On what planet do you get to steal $200,000 from someone and claim you deserve it? We didn't steal anything. You gave it to us. Under false pretenses. That's called fraud, Loretta. And you know it. There was silence on the other end. Then, you'll never win this. We have lawyers too. Better lawyers than whatever bargain attorney your sister found you. Maybe, I said. But I have something better. I have the truth. And I have evidence. In Garrett's own handwriting. I could hear her breathing, sharp and angry. You had no right to go through his things. I had every right. It's my house too. Was my house. Speaking of which, how does it feel knowing you're about to lose that condo? The police are seizing it as proceeds of fraud. You can't. I already did. Good night, Loretta. I suggest you get yourself a good lawyer. You're going to need one. I hung up before she could respond and immediately blocked that number too. In the morning, I got the kids ready for school like it was any normal day. They asked why we were at Aunt Bryn's, and I kept it simple. We're having a little sleepover while Mommy takes care of some grown-up stuff. Where's Daddy? My daughter asked. Daddy's at work, sweetie. After I dropped them off, I went straight to the police station to give my formal statement to Detective Walsh. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Mrs. Masterson, I've reviewed the complaint your attorney filed. I've also spoken with the bank's fraud department. This is a pretty clear-cut case. So what happens now?" I asked. "We're opening a criminal investigation into both your husband and mother-in-law. The DA will likely file charges within the next 2 weeks. In the meantime, we've frozen all accounts associated with the fraudulent transfer." "What about the condo?" "It'll be held pending the outcome of the case. If they're convicted, it'll be liquidated and the proceeds will be returned to you, minus any legal fees." I felt something loosen in my chest. Relief. Validation. "Thank you," I said. "There's one more thing," Detective Walsh said. "Your husband's behavior last night concerns me. The threatening messages, showing up at your sister's house. Men in his position, when they feel cornered, can become dangerous. I want you to take this seriously." I said. "My attorney is filing for a protective order today." "Good. And Mrs. Masterson?" "Document everything. Every call, every text, every encounter. You're going to need it." After leaving the police station, I met Kendra at the courthouse. We filed the protective order petition, along with the formal divorce papers. "How long until the hearing?" I asked. "Emergency protective orders usually get heard within 72 hours, Kendra said. "Given the evidence we have, the threats, the attempted break-in, I'm confident the judge will grant it." We were walking out of the courthouse when my phone rang. The bank. "Mrs. Masterson? This is David Chen from First National. I'm calling about your account." My stomach dropped. "What about it?" "Your husband attempted to withdraw all funds from your joint checking account this morning. The teller flagged it as suspicious given the recent fraud alert on your file." "He what?" "He tried to empty the account. We denied the transaction and immediately froze the account pending verification. You'll need to come in and set up a new account in just your name." I looked at Kendra. She was already on her phone. "I'm calling the DA's office. That's another count of attempted theft." At the bank, I closed all joint accounts and opened new ones in my name only. The balance in our checking account had been $47,000, money I'd earned from freelance design projects over the years, plus our savings. If the bank hadn't caught him, Garrett would have taken all of it. "Jesus," Bryn said when I told her. "He's spiraling." That afternoon, I got a call from Garrett's boss at the construction company. "Mrs. Masterson? This is Tom Bradley. I'm the owner of Bradley Construction. I need to talk to you about Garrett." "Okay," I said cautiously. "He didn't show up for work today. Didn't call. That's not like him. And I got a call from one of our suppliers saying Garrett bounced a check for $30,000 worth of materials. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Mr. Bradley, I think you should talk to your accountant. Check all your accounts that Garrett has access to. I'm in the middle of a fraud case against him, and it sounds like it might be bigger than I thought." There was a long silence. Oh God. Oh my God. I trusted him. He's been with me for 12 years. "I know the feeling," I said. After we hung up, I felt sick. How many other people had Garrett scammed? How deep did this go? The answer came 2 days later. Detective Walsh called me. "Mrs. Masterson, we've expanded our investigation. We've found evidence that your husband has been embezzling from his employer for at least 3 years. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. I sat down heavily. How did I not know? People like him are very good at hiding what they do, Walsh said. And they're even better at making other people feel like they're the crazy ones for being suspicious. The protective order hearing was on a Thursday morning. Garrett showed up with a lawyer, an expensive one, by the looks of his suit. But it didn't matter. The judge, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes, reviewed all the evidence. The texts. The police report from the night at Bryn's house. The attempted bank withdrawal. Garrett's lawyer tried to argue that these were just the actions of a distressed husband concerned about his family. Your Honor, Kendra said, this man systematically defrauded my client of $200,000. He planned to steal her home. He's now under criminal investigation for embezzlement from his employer. And when my client discovered his scheme, he showed up at her sister's residence and attempted to break down the door while children were inside. This isn't distress. This is a pattern of criminal behavior and escalating violence. The judge looked at Garrett over her glasses. Mr. Masterson, I'm granting the protective order. You are to stay at least 500 feet away from Mrs. Masterson, her sister's residence, and the children's school. You may not contact Mrs. Masterson except through attorneys regarding custody arrangements. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. Do you understand? Garrett's jaw was clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. Yes, Your Honor. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm ordering supervised visitation only until the criminal case is resolved. The court needs to ensure the safety of these children. Your Honor, that's not fair, Garrett started. Mr. Masterson, I suggest you focus on the much larger legal problems you're facing. This hearing is concluded. As we left the courtroom, Garrett's lawyer pulled Kendra aside. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see Kendra shaking her head firmly. What was that about? I asked when she came back. They want to settle. Offered to sign divorce papers with a 60-40 asset split in your favor if you agree to drop the criminal complaint. Absolutely not. That's what I told them. Kendra smiled. He's going to prison, Sloan. And you're going to get everything you're entitled to. That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mrs. Masterson? A woman's voice. My name is Rachel Jennings. I was seeing your husband. My breath caught. Excuse me? I didn't know he was married at first. He told me he was divorced. But then I saw the news, the fraud investigation, and I realized he'd lied about everything. She paused. I'm so sorry. I just thought you should know. After she hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. An affair. Of course there was an affair. I called Kendra. Can we add adultery to the divorce filing? Absolutely, she said. In fact, if you can get this Rachel to testify, it strengthens our case that Garrett was planning to leave you all along. The fraud wasn't just about getting his mother a condo. It was about setting himself up for a new life. Everything was unraveling. Garrett's entire house of cards was collapsing, and I was watching it happen in real time. 2 weeks later, the DA filed formal charges. Fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, attempted theft. Garrett was arrested at his mother's house, the same house he'd bought with my money. I didn't go to watch. But Bryn did, and she sent me a photo of Garrett in handcuffs being led to a police car. Karma's a bitch, she texted. Loretta was arrested the same day as an accomplice to fraud. That night, I sat with my kids and told them the truth. Age-appropriate truth, but truth nonetheless. Daddy made some very bad choices, I said. He did things that hurt people, including Mommy. And now he has to face consequences for those choices. Is Daddy going to jail? My son asked. Probably, I said. For a while. They cried. I held them. And I cried too, not for Garrett, but for the father they thought they had. For the family we could have been if he'd been honest. If he'd been good. But mostly, I cried from relief. Because it was over. The lies, the manipulation, the constant feeling that I was going crazy. It was all over. 3 months later, I stood in front of a mirror in my new apartment. Not Bryn's guest room, my own place. A modest 2-bedroom in a safe neighborhood with good schools. The furniture was mostly second-hand, but it was mine. Every piece of it was mine. The divorce was moving through the courts. Garrett's criminal trial was set for June. His lawyer had tried multiple times to get him a plea deal, but the DA wasn't budging. With the embezzlement charges from Bradley Construction added to everything else, Garrett was looking at 10 to 15 years. Loretta had taken a plea deal. 5 years probation, restitution, and her name on the sex offender registry for identity theft. She'd have a criminal record for the rest of her life. The condo had been seized and sold at auction. The proceeds, minus legal fees and the bank's costs, came to $167,000. It was sitting in my new bank account, in my name only. My phone buzzed. A text from Kendra, Judge signed off on final asset division. The house is yours. Garrett's construction company is liquidating his partnership, another $89,000 coming your way. You did it, lady. I sat down on my second-hand couch and just breathed. The house. Our house. The one Garrett had tried to steal. It was legally mine now. I could sell it, keep it, burn it down if I wanted to. It was mine. But the money wasn't what mattered most. What mattered was that I'd fought back. I'd stood up. I'd refused to be a victim. There was a knock at the door. I peeked through the peephole, old habits died hard, and saw Bryn standing there with 2 bottles of champagne and a huge grin. Open up, sis. We're celebrating. I let her in and she immediately started popping the first bottle. To Sloan fucking Masterson, she said, pouring 2 glasses. The woman who took down a con artist and got her life back. To me, I said, clinking glasses with her. We drank, and for the first time in months, I felt something close to happiness. Not the fake happiness I'd performed for years with Garrett. Real happiness. The kind that came from knowing exactly who you were and what you were worth. So, Bryn said, flopping down on my couch, have you thought about what you're going to do? With the house, I mean. I'm selling it, I said without hesitation. Too many bad memories. I want to take that money and the money from the condo and buy something new. Something that's just mine and the kids. A fresh start. Good, Bryn said. You deserve a fresh start. My phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? Mrs. Masterson? This is Sarah Chin from Portland Design Quarterly. I'm writing an article about your case, not the criminal aspects, but your business. I understand you used to run an interior design firm? I did, I said carefully. Why? Well, the story's gotten some attention. Woman architect takes down fraudulent husband, that kind of thing. And I've been looking at your old portfolio online. Your work is incredible. Have you thought about reopening your business? I hadn't. Not seriously. I'd been so focused on survival, on getting through each day, that I hadn't let myself think about the future beyond keeping a roof over our heads. I don't know, I said. Would you be open to an interview? I think a lot of people would be inspired by your story. And honestly, I think you'd get a lot of client interest. People want to support survivors. They want to support women who fight back. After we hung up, I sat there thinking. My business. My passion. The thing I'd given up because Garrett convinced me I didn't need it. You should do it, Bryn said, reading my mind. You're an amazing designer. You always have been. It's been almost 10 years. So? You've got the skills. You've got the eye. And now you've got something else, you've got grit. You've got a story. People are going to want to work with someone like you. The interview with Portland Design Quarterly ran 2 weeks later. The writer had been kind but honest. She'd covered the fraud case factually but focused mostly on my design work, my vision, my plans for the future. Within 3 days, I had 15 inquiries from potential clients. Within a week, I had my first signed contract. A young couple wanted me to redesign their house. Budget, $50,000. They'd read the article and said they specifically wanted to work with me because they admired what I'd done. I hired an assistant, a recent design school graduate named Maya who was hungry and talented. We rented a small office space downtown. I put up a new website with my old portfolio and some fresh ideas. Sloan Masterson Design was back in business. The kids adjusted better than I expected. They saw Garrett once a week at a supervised visitation center. A social worker sat in on every visit. At first, Garrett tried to use the time to manipulate them, to paint me as the villain. But the social worker shut it down immediately. Daddy keeps saying you lied about him, my daughter told me one night. I didn't lie, sweetie, I said gently. Daddy did some things that were wrong. Things that hurt our family. And he has to face consequences for those things. But he's still our dad? He's still your dad, I said. And he loves you. But sometimes people make choices that hurt the people they love. That doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It means he did. She thought about this. Are you sad? Sometimes, I admitted. I'm sad that things didn't work out the way I hoped. But I'm also happy that we're safe now. That we're okay. I think we're more than okay, she said. I think we're good. Smart kid. Garrett's trial started in June. I didn't attend most of it. Kendra said I didn't need to, that my deposition was enough. But I went for the verdict. The courtroom was packed. Apparently, the case had gotten a lot of local media attention. Contractor Khan's wife and employer had been the headline in the Oregonian. When the jury came back after 3 days of deliberation, I held my breath. On the count of fraud in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of identity theft, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of embezzlement, we find the defendant guilty. 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 Garrett's face was ashen. His lawyer was already talking about appeals, but I could see in Garrett's eyes that he knew it was over. The judge sentenced him to 12 years in state prison, with the possibility of parole after 8 if he showed good behavior and paid full restitution. 12 years. The kids would be teenagers when he got out. Maybe adults. I felt a twinge of something, not quite sadness, not quite satisfaction. Just finality. As I left the courthouse, a reporter approached me. Mrs. Masterson, how do you feel about the verdict? I thought about it. I feel like justice was served, I said. My ex-husband made choices that hurt a lot of people, me, our children, his employer, his mother. And now he's facing the consequences of those choices. I hope he uses his time in prison to reflect and become a better person. But mostly, I hope other women who are in situations like I was will see this and know that they don't have to stay. That they can fight back. That they can win. The reporter scribbled notes. What's next for you? I'm rebuilding, I said. My business, my life, my future. I'm showing my kids that you can survive betrayal, that you can come back from being broken, and that you can thrive. That night, Bryn threw a party at my new house, the one I'd bought with the money from selling our old place. It was smaller but brighter, with huge windows and a backyard where the kids could play. All my friends were there. The ones Garrett had slowly isolated me from over the years. They'd all reached out after the news broke, apologizing for not seeing the signs, for not checking in more. You couldn't have known, I told each of them. He was very good at what he did. Maya was there too, along with some of our new clients. People who believed in me, who wanted to see me succeed. Around midnight, after the kids were asleep and most of the guests had left, Bryn and I sat on my back deck with wine. You know what the craziest thing is? I said. I'm happier now than I was before. Even with everything that happened. Even with all the pain and the legal battles and the uncertainty. I'm genuinely happier. That's because you're free, Bryn said. You're living your authentic life. You're not performing anymore. She was right. For years, I'd been performing the role of perfect wife. Perfect mother. Perfect daughter-in-law. I'd bent myself into shapes that didn't fit, trying to be what everyone else needed me to be. Now I was just me. Flawed, scarred, but real. And it felt incredible. 6 months after the trial, I got a call from Rachel Jennings, the woman who'd been seeing Garrett. I hope it's okay that I'm calling, she said. I've been in therapy, working through everything. And my therapist suggested I reach out to you. To apologize properly. You don't owe me an apology, I said. He lied to you too. I know, but I was the other woman. Even if I didn't know it at first, I was still part of what hurt you. We talked for an hour. She told me about how Garrett had presented himself as a successful, divorced businessman. How he'd taken her to nice restaurants, bought her gifts, made her feel special. How he'd talked about building a life together. He was already planning his next con, she said. With me as the mark this time. You dodged a bullet, I told her. We both did, she said. In different ways. After we hung up, I thought about Garrett in prison. Was he sorry? Did he understand what he'd done? Or was he just angry that he'd been caught? I'd probably never know. And I realized I didn't need to know. His journey was his own now. Mine was here, building something new. My business was thriving. We'd completed 6 major projects and had a waitlist of potential clients. I'd been featured in 2 design magazines and a local news segment about women entrepreneurs. The kids were doing well in therapy, processing everything that had happened. They'd stopped asking when Daddy was coming home. They understood now that home wasn't where he was anymore. One evening, about a year after everything fell apart, my daughter asked me, Mom, are you going to date anyone? I laughed. I don't know, sweetie. Maybe someday. But not right now. Right now, I'm focused on us. On building our life. Good, she said. Because I like it being just us. Me too, baby. Me too. But I did think about it sometimes. About whether I'd ever be able to trust someone again. Whether I'd ever want to let someone into our lives. The answer was, maybe. Someday. When I was ready. When I'd healed enough to open that door again. But I wasn't in a hurry. I'd spent 10 years in a relationship built on lies. I could spend some time in one built on truth, a relationship with myself. 2 years after Garrett's conviction, I got a letter from him in prison. The return address made my stomach clench, but curiosity won out. I opened it. Dear Sloane, it began. I know I have no right to contact you. I know I destroyed everything we built together. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not sorry I got caught, but sorry for what I did. I've had a lot of time to think in here, and I've realized how much I hurt you. How much I hurt our kids. I was selfish and cruel, and I justified it by telling myself I was providing for my family. But I was really just serving myself. I hope someday you can forgive me. Not for my sake, but for yours. So you can let go of the anger and move on completely. The kids tell me you're doing well. That you have your business back. I'm glad. You deserved better than what I gave you. You always did. Garrett. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and didn't think about it for a week. When I finally pulled it out again, I realized something. I had forgiven him. Not because he'd apologized, but because carrying anger was exhausting. Because forgiveness wasn't about letting him off the hook, it was about freeing myself from the weight of bitterness. He'd face his consequences. He'd serve his time. That was between him and the justice system. My job was just to live well. To raise my kids. To build my business. To be happy. And I was happy. Not every day. Some days were hard. Some days I was lonely. Some days I wondered if I'd ever fully trust my own judgment again. But most days? Most days I woke up grateful. Grateful I'd found out the truth. Grateful I'd had the strength to fight. Grateful for Bryn and Kendra and everyone who'd stood by me. Grateful for the woman I'd become through all of it, someone I actually liked. Someone I was proud to be. 3 years after everything began, I stood in my office looking at a rendering for my biggest project yet. A complete renovation of a historic building downtown, turning it into mixed-use residential and commercial space. Budget, $2 million. Maya walked in with coffee. Ready for the client presentation? Ready, I said. As we gathered our materials, I caught my reflection in the window. I looked different than I had 3 years ago. Older, yes. But also stronger. More confident. More alive. That woman in the fitting room, overhearing her husband's betrayal, had felt like her world was ending. She hadn't known yet that it wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter, "Mom, can I invite friends over this weekend? Love you." I smiled and typed back, "Of course. Love you too, baby." This was my life now. Not perfect. Not what I'd planned. But mine. Authentically, completely mine. And that was worth more than anything Garrett had ever given me, or tried to take away. I grabbed my portfolio and headed out to meet my client, ready to build something beautiful. Something that would last. Something real. Just like I'd built myself.